Welcome to Tower Technicians. What if you could hang out with experienced tower technicians, industry leaders, and decision makers? Ask them about their experiences, habits, concerns, and frustrations. Then, take an insight or two to guide your own career growth. Each week, Darren Wagner shares an in-depth look at the lives of people in wireless telecom who are always working hard to close the digital divide. His hope is to show you how you can stay safe, grow your career, and reach your fullest potential within the industry. DW is an experienced tower technician who has become an industry leader over the last 3 decades. His goal is to bridge the gap between tower technicians and decision makers within wireless telecom. Now, here's DW.
Hey, what's up? It's DW back at you with another episode of Tower Technicians. Obviously, I'm traveling this week. I'm in a hotel room. I'm not in my studio, but I wanted to get this episode out to you because this one is going to be real. The reason why is our guest is from the Navy Special Forces. He's not a SEAL. He's part of a group called SWCC, which not many people know about. And what SWCC does is they have these specialized vessels that use rivers and coastlines to insert or extract the Navy SEALs or other special forces. And so if you've ever seen the movie Act of Valor, there's a scene in there where the Navy SEALs are in a truck and they're running from the bad guys and they're shooting back and forth at each other. There's one of the Navy SEALs are wounded. He got shot in the face and they're trying to get away from these guys and these guys are trying to kill him and they're running from him and they're calling for a hot extract. And so the Navy SEALs get to a point to where they just crash the truck right into a river. And the truck goes underwater, the Navy SEALs go underwater, but here come the bad guys. They're coming to kill them. Well, right at the last minute, the SWCC team shows up and they have these heavily armored vessels and they just light these guys up. They extract the SEALs and bring them back to safety. So that's what SWCC does. Well, our guest is a real badass. He's part of SWCC. He's been through a lot of training. He's got a lot of experience. He's seen a lot of things. And he's been through some training at heights as well, on rappelling, on fast roping, just various things like that. Well, his experience in climbing a cell phone tower was a little different. And so one of the things that you'll hear him say is that it was different experience than what he's ever experienced before. He's never experienced climbing a tower at that height. And it was a tower that we typically would climb in this industry. Our tower technicians climb these type of towers on a day-to-day basis. And after this experience, he was amazed with what we do. We earned his respect. And so what does that say about you guys? What does that say about the tower technicians out there that are doing this stuff day in and day out? Well, I'll tell you what it says. It says that you guys are badasses too. But I'll tell you this. It doesn't matter how badass you are. If you fall into substance abuse or addiction, it can take everything away from you, including your life. It could affect the people around you, your friends, your family. It could just take your entire world down. And so, you're probably thinking, okay, here we go. We're going to start talking about substance abuse, which is very true. The reason why I want to talk about substance abuse is because it's a real issue in our industry, and too many people sweep it under the rug. Too many employers are turning a blind eye to drug testing. Too many employers or even crew members or teammates are turning a blind eye to their fellow employee who could be under the influence. It's happening. It's a real thing. And I don't want to shy away from these conversations. But before you get hung up in judgment, before you start judging people who are in this episode or even things that have happened that they're talking about, check yourself. Check your ego. Are you perfect? Do you have things that you struggle with? Probably so. Just an example. How often do you drink alcohol? because science says that if you drink alcohol more than once a day, if you have more than one drink a day, that it's detrimental to your health. So, do you smoke? Cigarettes? Vape? Obviously, that's detrimental to your health. How much sugar do you eat? What kind of diet are you eating? All of that can be detrimental to your health. So, yes, substance abuse is real. Addiction is real. And it's a truly health degrading issue. And it could cause problems not only for the person, but the people around them. But don't judge, because you or one of your loved ones could fall into the same situation. And so I just wanted to kind of prep you on that, and just hopefully you go into this episode with a mindset of trying to learn and maybe increasing your level of consciousness, raising your level of awareness, and hearing from people with some experience. So check it out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast. Got a quick episode today. You might be able to hear the drone. Didn't mean to make a special entrance, but bottom line is I've got my buddy.
It's already here, yeah.
Yeah. Don along with us, and we got some cool stuff for you. So let's go ahead and hit it over here.
I'll take it.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set that in, and every now and then take a look at it. So
Here we are.
yeah, here we are indeed. Playing King of the Mountain.
Yeah, I did not expect, I had a total, I guess I just didn't expect this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's more into just getting up here than just climbing a ladder,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Why don't we give them a little bit of a background? What is it that you do occupationally and that kind of thing?
So I've been in the Navy, it'll be 15 years, actually next month makes 15 years. Spent my entire career in special operations. The Navy's got two different categories of special operations, so SEALs and then SWCS. We were closed looped in 2006, so relatively new. So I've been a SWCS ever since I came in. I came in on a contract, went through our selection phase, and then was stationed down in South Mississippi. So we've got locations in Coronado, California, Virginia Beach, and down here. So I've been down here operational and as an instructor capacity since 2009.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you able to speak on what you actually instruct people on, or?
So I was an instructor for 4 years. I did a few deployments, and then just kind of took a break and went over to like an instructor role. So taught advanced shooting, CQC, land warfare. Basically, if you were in a vehicle convoy, if you were to get contacted or hit while in convoy, transiting to or from wherever you need to go, things of that nature, which is kind of, some of it's outside of our scope of work for what we do, but it's like basic skill sets that guys still need when they're, overseas and, in a harsh environment. So I did that for 4 years. And other than that, I've been an instructor at our team too. It doesn't really count as an instructor duty. It's just kind of like you're in between rotations. So you just work with other guys that are getting ready to deploy and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Do you ever end up in a harness or working at height, anything like this, or?
So rappelling, fast roping, spy rigging. But to answer your question about this, no. I don't think there's a rappel tower in the country that's as high as this, or set up like this would not. You have to do inspections for to certify towers to be like, okay, you can fast rope from this tower or you can rappel for this tower. This would get a hard thumbs down on all accounts. And no, that we are not using that to rappel from.
So to catch everybody else up on this, Don and I have been wanting to do this for a minute now, and I literally live right there in an apartment. He lives just down the road, but this tower in particular is a peg climb, self-supporter, 200 feet that stops right at about 160. And from 160 all the way, the rest of the way up, we're dealing with a clip and climb scenario that isn't easy. You have to navigate around 3 booms. And so I gave my special forces friend a run through the gauntlet to let him know what we actually get faced with. You share unique attributes like I do. Obviously, we're into specialized industries, that kind of a thing.
Right.
We're both bald workout dudes that kind of come at you a little strong in an alpha sense.
Yeah, I would agree on all accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other A word, if you will, besides maybe some people call them as a-holes, but for me, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, and I deal with issues of substance abuse.
Correct, and I do as well. And that was, that's how this friendship came to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was to get from where I was as a person, just the whole. If you look at the whole man scenario, physically, how is that person professionally? How's that person at home? How are they physically, mentally, spiritually, all that stuff. If you look at from person that I was, I would say 7 months ago to kind of where I'm at today, and I'm not where I want to be by any means, but if you look at from where I was then to now, I mean, you can't put a price on kind of, how I think I'm doing.
As to the increase in the value of life.
Yeah, just all around, just everything's just so much more meaningful.
Well, one of the things that I shared with you last night was the amount of times that I've been homeless or sleeping in a car or passed out somewhere just so that I could get to point B because of my use or because I was drunk off my ass and, hold on, I'm passing out, waking up, and how that affected other people around me, that kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's detrimental to the people around you. Luckily, in my case, I was able to kind of shield that from, I would say, my direct family, other than my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously, there was no hiding certain things from her. And, in many cases, I've acted as if there was nobody, I was just a lone individual without anybody to be accountable to. But, my family, in regards to my parents and stuff like that, never really, I think they maybe suspected stuff, but they didn't have to see it firsthand. So I guess if you want to call that lucky, maybe I was lucky in that regard. But maybe just because it didn't really affect me until later on in life. I was already out on my own and doing stuff. So maybe I was lucky in that aspect. But but to your point, waking up in strange places, sleeping in strange places for no apparent reason. This just even God, the stuff before I was married, when I was literally had no chains to hold me down.
Oh, yeah.
I could just do whatever I wanted. And that was
Absolutely.
just a walking, destructive nightmare of a person.
One of the things that I need to remember is that was me at my absolute worst. But even when I was a functional alcoholic, a functional addict, or functional in my use at any point in time, where I was able to get it by. So yeah, everybody kind of could sense something was amiss. Something's kind of weird. Brock might just be crazy in general, or it gets lapped into an excuse. And that quality of life, when I look at it versus it is now, night and day.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things that are working for you? The tools, techniques that are keeping you on the straight and narrow, if you will?
So, there's the obvious things that that you and I have discussed. Meetings and stuff like that. Sponsors, talking to sponsors. And honestly, having relationships like you and I have has been a huge benefit, to my sobriety and just mental well-being. And some of the other stuff, you know, is like, is letting go of that control factor. I was really bad about that, you know, in active addiction. You want to control everything. You need everything to be your way. And then when it wouldn't go my way, it would eat me up. So that's another, you know, we will make, you know, as somebody in active addiction, we'll come up with any excuse under the sun to push you to that point to where you're blackout drunk again or whatever the case is. So that, just kind of getting my health back was a huge thing. Being able to go to the gym was, I mean, just, you know, you get your confidence back. That's been huge for me. And then, you know, the spiritual thing, you know, I completely lost touch with. You know, you hear the phrase spiritually bankrupt. I was definitely to that point. And then, yeah, not controlling things. And then, you know, basically kind of like, and it's funny, that not controlling thing, I'm actually, you know, I've had to, that's been a growing pain in my professional life. And it came up this week in some different topics. And, you know, I just kind of I had to make it clear on one occasion that once I was getting back into work, post-treatment and stuff like that, like, hey, I've vocally said, like, look, I've tried to control things. It hasn't worked. So whatever you guys need from me, let me know. Instead of trying to be like, hey, I want this, I want to do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be best suited here. I was like, you guys tell me what you need from me. And I just kind of, you know, surrendered my will to, you know, whatever that may be.
So in the same sense of that system of control, it's kind of weird, like, you know, talking about both of us kind of being that alpha male type that would assert themselves, and how that action of manipulation in order to get what we want or to have the outcome be what we want, I've felt the exact same way. And I've told you about this many times, is until I actually start flowing with what's going on. It's almost like remembering back to when I first learned how to surf, that it's like the wave or the momentum gets behind you. And it's, you know, for me, that's his will.
Yep.
That's that spirituality side, whether you want to call it source, God, Jesus. For me, it's him. It's God. And you can feel when that swell gets behind you, you can stand up and make action on what's going on. Otherwise, you sit back and wait your turn.
Yeah.
You know, and the moment it's there again, you paddle into it and stand up.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, that's kind of what a conversation that I was having with a coworker of mine, potentially soon to be one of my supervisors. And, you know, he's a big advocate for me getting back in with him. And so he's been pushing that narrative, and I, you know, respectfully told him, I was like, hey, whatever they need, you know, whatever decision they come up with is fine. Either way, you know, like if they're like, hey, let's get him back in the mix, then I'm all about it. If they're like, hey, we need to give him some more time, I'm also, you know, that's fine too. It's not gonna affect me as a person one way or the other.
So from our discussion the other night, we're talking about how it does feel that, yes, it's lovely how we have support structures of people like rooting for us, but there's still those dicks that have their feet up. Absolutely. That are basically waiting for us to mess up. And in some cases making our life difficult in order to almost provoke type of scenarios to get the old style of behavior to come in, because they know that for us it's easier. It's way easier for me to turn into a complete dick.
Second nature.
Yes. And man, I got those kind of people in the workplace, in personal life, or just in general. What are you doing to kind of combat that? So
in regards to that, and I, you know, in my situation, I feel that if somebody does have that attitude, and maybe sometimes they don't, and it's going on in my own head, but if they do have that attitude, they're not going to come out and say it. But there is that stipulation where it's like, say I had something going on at home in the morning, so I'm running 10 minutes behind.
Right.
Well, maybe they think I'm hungover. Maybe they think I'm going to smell like booze when I get there. Maybe they think this, that. Instead, it could be an honest thing. Like my wife she couldn't find her keys. I was trying to, whatever the case is. Or, you take it a step further. Like, hey, yeah, let's throw him back. Let's get him back in the mix, ready for another deployment. And when he gets a little stressed out, he's gonna break his sobriety, that stuff. So to combat that, again, it's really like giving up that control. I can't control their thoughts. I can't control their actions, how they treat me. What I can control is myself.
So it's kind of like a surrendering your will to that.
Yeah, I can control myself and what goes on in here. I'm always great. I'm not perfect at it. I don't have it mastered, but I'm very self-aware, more so now.
That self-awareness is kind of key for me. And remembering that I didn't exactly start sucking overnight. You know what I mean? It was a progressive type of a thing, sucking as a person, being a complete asshole. And that, when I want to be lazy, when I want to falter and have bad habits, that type of a thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That, let me go ahead and just try to take this one.
Is that a low battery?
Yeah. This is gonna be fun. Oh, I can't see it. I got blind. She's got to go down.
You just gonna set it down?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Okay. That right there, in trying to fly the drone in an emergency situation like that, during my use time, I'd be panicking. I really would. And I have cuts all over my hands from the last couple of times that I've done, a release or a catch, and making stupid decisions that really affect my life and purchases and just the dumbest shit that ever was.
Oh, yeah.
Life was in complete ruin, if you will. And it's crazy to think that I'm just an inch or two away. Do you ever have that urge still?
So, look, I can say that I don't, and I don't know why. I'm not gonna, I don't dwell on it. I don't dwell on the why too much. Right. The only thing, because that's a common thing, especially in the world of recovery, relapses and stuff like that. People, going, relapsing multiple times and stuff. And other than IOP, I've only, I did IOP in 2019, and then.
So intensive outpatient, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Intensive outpatient, and then I did the inpatient. Last year,
right,
2022. So that was my first inpatient experience.
And that inpatient, that was with me. That's where we actually met.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
With a lot of fun.
It was puzzle factory, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. The best place to sit on the porch and give everybody new backstories.
Yeah, new backstories, new lives.
Oh, they love that too. Yeah.
So, and being around people that had been in treatment numerous times. So I was terrified coming out of treatment.
That was your first time?
That was my first time.
That was my first time inpatient. Yeah.
And I was scared. I was like, fuck. I felt like a caged, like an animal in a zoo, being released back into the wild, hey, good luck out there, I was like, fuck.
On your way out or even on your way in?
On my way out.
Okay.
On my way in, I didn't know. I was probably even more fucked up. And so, I was super nervous. I was like, fuck, what if I'm like one of these other assholes and I just get out there and relapse like that? And, but I still, I think I live with a certain amount of fear, and I keep that because I know how shitty it can be. And like going back to that, I might as well not have a career anymore. I might as well go ahead and tell my wife, like, hey, we're done, we're getting a divorce. Like, I know going back to that, like, there is no, I know the reality of the situation, you know? And I live with that. I keep that fear, I guess, that amount, that I'll call it a healthy fear. Whether it's healthy or not, I don't know. But I keep it in the room with me at all times, you know? So just, if that makes any sense. I know
it makes 100% sense, but dude, okay. Remember how I got released like what, 2 weeks before you?
Yeah.
Okay. I was scared shitless. And the reason I was scared is because I was going out and, well, I mean, it's not like it's different per se, but I went in there because I didn't give a fuck anymore. I didn't want to live. It was like, this is stupid. I can't keep doing this. I've been doing it for 29 years. My body is absolutely wrecked. Came to find out, you know, that I'm, you know, was dying, that kind of a thing. And when I was coming out, I had, you know, a different personal situation, but I knew you guys were coming out. And I was like, oh God, I really hope it's true when they get out. They're not going to be some fucking dicks and just run.
Yeah.
And then I run into meth in the first I found meth. I found heroin in the first 72 hours of getting out. And these fuckers didn't get out for another 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I got to go to work. And so I been up like a tower every single day until you guys came out. That was that and then meetings were the main thing that got me through. I do have to admit though, I do feel sometimes like using, but I want to clarify. That's when you haven't heard from Brock for a couple of days. That's when I've skipped on my meetings. That's when I haven't done my personal meditation, my reading into my actual recovery itself.
Right.
And when I haven't been doing work or service or giving of myself and in communication, honest, like it's been, I have not gone into a store with the intent to buy.
Yeah.
But I have gone, oh shit, I really want to. I better do anything I can to not.
And without that because I'm not great at it, and I fuck it up more times than I get it right. But you know, getting the repetition in of like, you know, the stuff that I want to read every day, like, you know, prayer. I'm not big on meditation. Like the gym is kind of my thing that gets me back on the, you know, normal playing field. But the meetings, like, you know, we just got back from out of the country. I haven't been to a meeting in 3 weeks, roughly 3 weeks. Like all that stuff, I feel like when I'm getting out of like that routine, I feel kind of almost like dirty. like I'm doing
something wrong.
Yeah.
Because the clarity, if you want to reverse it, the way to be able to operate and speak your mind, like the conversations that we've had have been absolutely solid gold in like really high level. And so I can tell that things are efficiently running for you like a million times better than when we did inside of the fucking think tank. Oh, you know what I mean? Even
and that's
that kind of thing.
So, and that's the crazy thing. And I've been recently thinking about, like, within the last, like, I would say 3 weeks, thinking about that, like the clarity that is coming with, you know, more time in sobriety, and like the thought patterns that I'm having, and just the things that it's just crazy. It's like it gets better with time. I don't know. It's cool.
Here's one of those things is I'm noticing, which normally on any other podcast, if there was like some type of call that was incorrect, like this is on the other side, but I wasn't noticing that you had both the Y lanyards into it.
Yeah.
And I know it feels safer, but the amount of force that it applies to the body, the shock packs that we talked about.
Yep. Yeah.
That was that type of a thing, like I would normally like feel nervous as to, oh God, we got to clean, but fuck that. This is real life.
Yeah.
This is really what we're doing. I'm not trying to put on a show here. I'm trying to talk to my dude and get something across to somebody that actually is going to need it.
Yeah. And I know in my profession, and it sounds like along the same lines with your profession. So when you look at substance abuse, so our random drug tests keep us pretty safe from illicit drugs and stuff like that. Doesn't mean the system can't be
Studied.
right.
Right.
Like it's whoever wants to say like, yeah, nobody, like we don't have guys that do drugs and stuff like that. Like, I'm glad you think that. I'm glad you sleep well at night thinking that. That's simply not the case.
Right.
But alcoholism tends to be more of like the thing that impacts people, in my profession, and I think it's only going to get worse. Honestly, I don't see it getting better. And then it's
one of the things that we got the same style, that because it's a machismo, type of got to have this, persona about things. And most people don't understand, that alcohol or any other drug is a poison. They don't know what that moment of clarity is actually like.
Yeah.
They don't know necessarily themselves. And they would almost think that I'm being arrogant or something along those lines. And this is something that I would love to give to everybody, but unless you're in a receptive mode and you're ready to actually raise your hand, they're never going to get it.
right.
But I think it's important that people see that there's people like you and me out there that are normal, not necessarily complete losers and straight edges, that honestly can give people a break, because this is a mental health issue.
Yeah.
This is not just, well, I'd like to not drink. And, I don't want to make it all churchy, but there are church aspects to it that are really good.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people of religion should be looked down on for anybody trying to all of a sudden clean themselves up.
No, they shouldn't. And it goes back to that. And like if somebody would have, I don't know, let's go back 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have said, hey, you're fucking crazy. You're fucking nuts. Like, whatever, dude, I'm going to the bar and I'll see you there Friday night or whatever. But
that's what was the life.
yeah. And you know what? If you can put that drink down, or you can put that drug down, or whatever, you can walk away from it, and you don't need it, you don't have to have it. Hey, whatever, more power to you. I'm not going to judge you. God knows I cannot point fingers at anybody. But it's when you get to that, I think in regards to what you're talking about, is people are afraid to seem vulnerable or be like, hey, maybe that guy is right.
Yeah.
Or some, because they don't want to,
they want to fit in with the crowd.
They got to fit in.
That stigma it's on every single commercial. The Super Bowl coming up. What is that this week? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it's this weekend.
Okay, and I don't mean to be that out of tune with it. It's just that I'm choosing to not be involved with that anymore, because that was a big thing for me.
And it's and it's such a norm in society, and it is with us. Like, we've got, I was supposed to be in Kentucky right now. They're, I'm in a text thread for work and stuff like that. They're doing a big Super Bowl thing, and which I'm happy I'm not up there. It's cold. I'm living in shitty barracks. I'd rather be on top of this tower right now. I'm still thinking about getting down, but I know that eventually I will get down.
Absolutely. It is going to be a little bit of a challenge, because the carrier that I can't necessarily name below us, but the rat's nest.
Yeah.
And if you already know who that rat, I don't need to even get into it. But we definitely, with the sun going down,
We'll figure.
You're actually speaking tonight, aren't you?
Huh?
Right?
What's that? Oh, no, that got pushed to next.
That got pushed to next week?
Yeah.
Okay. Do
Because of
you
the,
want to take your time, or do you want to wait till the temperature drops?
I can take my time. What do you mean, tonight?
Yeah.
As far as getting down?
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
What would you want to make sure that we kind of leave them with, or what would you want to give across to anybody who would be watching this, whether it's your industry or my industry?
So once I did get integrated back into work, it wasn't exactly an easy, like I just show back up, high five, hey, welcome back kind of thing. Didn't really work that way. So through that process, you know, it was a very humbling experience. So I had to go to another disciplinary review board, another XOI and stuff like that. Only this time it was a little different. So they gave me a chance to speak. And so I did. And I was just open and honest about everything. Given more time, I would have told them whatever they wanted to hear. But due to the second time, you know, I told them enough, you know.
Right.
And so they asked me to essentially share my experience with our command. So, you know, or whoever was there. We had guys in deployment and stuff, so close to 200 people. And that was hard. That was real hard.
I remember you going through that situation.
Yeah, that was not like I had an idea what I was going to say, and then like I wrote some stuff down, kind of followed it. I think I blacked out for a minute. And but it was, you know, I even said, I was like, you know, back in 2008 or 2009, whenever, if you would have, like I said this, I was like, if you would have told me that I would be up here right now discussing, you know, the dangers of alcoholism, I would have told you to go fuck yourself. I said that. That was my opening statement. So I went into it and just kind of shared, you know, hit the wave tops of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, you know, to be self-aware and what, you know, take note of your habits.
Right.
Like, what do your habits look like? Have honest conversations with yourself. I mean, don't be a crazy person walking around, but you need to be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. And just, you know, take note of your habits, have some self-awareness, and just be honest with yourself. Because if you get to that point, if you know what that point's like, I know what that point's like, you don't want to get there. You know?
No.
And if it can be avoided, you know, or talk to somebody, find somebody you trust, talk with them. But it's not worth, you know, potentially throwing away whatever you've worked for, you know, just to, I don't know, have a good time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, bro, thank you for joining me on this one.
Thank you for having
I
me.
appreciate you coming up and doing Trust Falls with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do a couple on the way back.
That's right. Just
I'm going to try one head first this time.
anyway, thanks guys for joining.
So that was an interesting conversation, right? And I took a few notes, so I just want to highlight them for you. One thing is that there's a huge distinction between addiction and sobriety. And sometimes people who are under the influence and who are living that life and in addiction don't realize what the difference actually is until you get sober and you look back and you're like, you know what, my life has changed. And that's one of the big things that I've pulled from that conversation is that they were talking about how different it is to live a sober life. And then you heard Don talk about part of doing that is you have to have some level of accountability, whether it's going to meetings, whether it's having accountability relationships, but it's important to have people around you that hold you accountable because you can get sucked right back into it. You also heard a part where Don talked about when he was transitioning from wanting to control everything to actually serving people and controlling only what was in his control, and that's himself. And so that was an interesting shift in paradigm that he described for himself. Then there was a part in the middle of the episode that I actually thought about removing, but I decided to keep it in because of the takeaway from it. So the drone actually started to lose battery, and you could see it on Brock's face, his level of concern, and he had to actually pause the interview and do a crash landing for the most part, emergency landing, not a crash landing, but emergency landing in order to save the drone. And the reason why I kept it in is because his level of awareness after he landed the drone about how he handled that. He reflected back on how he would have handled it when he was in addiction compared to how he's handling it now. And it's a huge difference from, how he's handling it now compared to the old Brock. So that was an interesting sight to see when he did that. And so I hope you guys took note of that. Don also talked about how alcohol and drugs are used so much more than what employers know. Like there's so many ways that people can fake the test and study for the test and all that. And so, we don't want to be naive as employers. And also our teammate. Like, we don't want to be naive to our teammates being under the influence, because quite honestly, when it comes to our job, our safety is at risk if our fellow employees are under the influence. So we need to make sure that we're watching out for that. And so, but we don't want to be naive. We don't want to sweep it under the rug. And too much of that has happened nowadays. Don talked about a story when he started integrating back to work, where his boss told him he needed to speak in front of approximately 200 people or so about his journey and some of the things that he experienced during recovery. And so his opening line was pretty cool, and I'll say it. He said, if in 2008 or 2009 you would have told me that I would be up here right now discussing the damages of alcoholism, I would have told you to go fuck yourself. And so that illustrates that you don't necessarily know where you're going to be in the future. You may have an idea of what you want, but life doesn't always go down the path that you think it's going to go. And so what Don was saying is, and back in 2008, 2009, he had no clue that he would be speaking in front of people about the damages of alcoholism. So where are you these days? You may take a turn in your life that may be unexpected, and you may end up be doing something here in the near future or 5-10 years from now that you had no clue that you would be doing. And so I thought that was a pretty cool story that he told when it comes to that. At the end of it, it's really a matter of taking note of your habits. And so just doing a reflection on yourself and checking what you can improve. And so, you heard me say this so many times about continuously pursuit of personal excellence. Whether it's you have substance abuse problems or addiction, or whether you don't have that type of problem, there's always something you can improve in yourself. And so if you are suffering from addiction or substance abuse, obviously that would probably be the first thing you want to address. But if you're not having those kind of issues, and you may fall into an issue where, you can clean up your diet, or maybe you can start exercising, or maybe you can start, reading a little bit or listening to educational things, anything to improve yourself. That's really what this is all about. It's really about examining your habits, leveling up your habits, figuring out what are the bad habits, trying to get past those bad habits and try to replace them with new and improved good habits that make you more healthy, make you more productive, make you closer to the person that you strive to be. And so I'll leave you with that. I appreciate everything that you guys do and listen, and all the support that you give. And I just ask that you share and subscribe and rate and review.